The Josie we know? How many
Oh,
Josies are there out there? Hi, Josie. Okay, so how are we doing this, Anya? Are you going to be reading comments and things? I don't think I see them on my phone.
yeah, I can moderate. Hi, everybody.
So
Tell
Anya
us
and
if you
I are,
can tell us if you can hear us and see us, maybe
yes,
first and
please.
foremost. That would be helpful. Great.
Yeah, right. Okay, now I see the comments. Hey, Red Pill Junkie just joined. Welcome. Midwest Time
Yes.
Capsules. I know who that is. Do you know who that is? It's the guy who came by on his bike riding from Texas to Montana.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not giving away any pseudonyms. Maybe we shouldn't
Justin
say
Weiss. Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't say who people actually are. Justin Weiss just joined. Okay, welcome everybody. Very nice to see you. Anya and I are in the same house but in different rooms.
Yeah, we tried to do this last time together in the same place, but I guess it's all built for like vertical screens. So we like awkwardly had to put our computer very far away and sit very close together, which I
With our
liked.
heads
I thought it was
tilted.
cute and intimate, but it was a little bit uncomfortable. So we're trying it this way.
I got a crick in my neck. You ever see the Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David's complaining about how he doesn't like to go down on women because he always gets a crick in his neck?
Yes.
Yeah.
Love me some
Anyway,
Larry David. All right.
anyway,
So we decided to
do you
the
think
last subs.
Larry
What?
David is sexy? Would you fuck Larry David?
I would fuck Larry David. I don't know if I think he's sexy, but like he's Larry David.
So you'd fuck him because he's Larry David. But if you met a guy who looked and acted like Larry David, but he wasn't Larry David, would you?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. Larry David to me is just like such a amazing like archetypal epitome of like the like Jewish curmudgeon character that feels so familiar and so comforting to me. I feel so validated by Larry David. So I don't know if his
Yeah,
personality was exactly the same and he wasn't famous. I think so.
that's
Uh,
good.
I'm
That's
I'm
good
a
to
big
know.
fan. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's something very endearing about Larry David, like how he breaks all the rules, but it feels to me like he never has bad intentions. Like he's almost like the archetype of the scientific method or something, right? Where
Mm,
it's like he just it's like, wait, why? Why can't I say that? Why can't I do that? Why are you offended? Like or I don't know if it's the scientific method or a 2-year old, but he's just always like questioning the premise. There's something
yeah.
very endearing and valuable about that, I feel like.
Yeah, I think you have a lot of Larry David qualities.
That must be why I love it so much. Yeah. Oh, you mean because I offend people?
Yeah,
Your
like there's
eyes
a
look
kind
really nice with that shirt, by the way.
of that's good.
It really makes them pop.
I got this sweatshirt from my favorite elders in the community, Kizin and Janet. Kizin got this at the on the discount rack at the Swatch thrift store and was going to give it to Janet, but Janet's not a fan of pullover sweatshirts. So this is now the second sweatshirt I have received. Similar
Nice.
style.
Nice.
it's
Anyway, I interrupted you to ask if you would fuck Larry David.
okay.
Welcome to
I
our
was
world.
yeah, I was I was just gonna like explain the situation here. It's really nice when you guys like comment and engage and ask questions so it doesn't feel like we're just talking at a void. And the first one of these we did, we were in Baja on the beach and it was really fun. And it was enjoyable to answer questions you guys had and just chat about whether or not I would fuck Larry David. And so today we decided we'd chat a little bit about DTF St. Louis, which we watched and mentioned on our most recent Aroma, in case anyone has seen that. It had some interesting themes worth discussing, but we will probably not talk about that the entire time. So if anyone has a question or a comment, we'll kind of engage with this similar to how we do the aromas and have tangential conversations about what y'all are curious about.
So I guess we can't kind of like we can't like ask people if they've seen it, right? There's no way for people to raise their hands or something like.
Well, they can
I mean,
comment.
I guess we just have to tell people that never trust a guy with two first names. Yeah, are you talking about Chris Ryan there? I have three first names. Christopher Patrick Ryan. How about that?
Yeah.
Um, so okay, I guess spoiler alert, right? Do we have to
Yeah.
say that because we're talking about
Spoiler alert about DTF St. Louis for sure. Because it's like they
right,
save it all to the end. You really
right.
don't know what's happening.
In
So,
terms of plot twists, yeah, the whole they string you along the whole time with several different plausible explanations. I have to say, I nailed it. Like, I don't know how many episodes were there? 7?
yeah.
And at like episode 3 or 4, I was like, suicide. The
Yeah.
whodunit is he done it to himself. I didn't
Right.
know exactly why. I thought it was an insurance scam, which it turned out not to be. But um, I don't know. Instead of talking about the plot too much, let's talk about. I thought, okay, so here's what I thought happened in the writers' room or in the creator's head. I think he probably, has daughters, and he was watching his daughters, or maybe he has daughters and sons, or maybe he was in a playground or something, and he was just watching how girls' friendships and boys' friendships have different vocabularies, different emotional vocabularies. And it felt to me like what he did was he said, "What would happen if I set up a situation with two adult men who have a friendship like two 7-year-old girls? How would that look on the screen? How would that play out?" And I think that's what he did. I think it was like, let's just try this. Let's just transpose adult men into this 7-year-old girl friendship. They're holding hands all the time. There's that
They're not
early
holding
scene.
hands.
Of course they hold hands when they're riding their bikes going to the
No.
wineries. There's this whole scene of them riding next to each other, holding hands and laughing, and "You're my best buddy," and they have all their secret little code words, "Be
Yeah.
the bee, bring out the best, be you the bee," or whatever it is. And then, uh there's this scene of them on the swing set together, and they're kind of, like, turning their chains, and they're just sort of spinning around next to each other. It's like little girls on the playground. I think the whole idea was to sort of question and subvert the sort of, the hangups of male friendship. And then the whole scene where they're dancing for each other in their underwear and trying to get an erotic response and stuff, and I mean, there's a lot of ambiguity around their sexuality that I think is much more common among girls than among boys. You're
Mm.
skeptical of my
Yeah,
theory. Go ahead.
I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think our differing reactions to this are really telling. And maybe also my reaction to this friendship is coming from like my own subjective lens, which is influenced by having a gay father and like not knowing he was gay for a long period of time. And so I was witness to like two men who, before I found out my dad was gay, I didn't know were gay. And so I think there's something in me that sort of just like got programmed in a way that was like men can be intimate in similar ways that women can, or that men and women can, like, that there wasn't these clear definitions or boundaries or lines about, like, what was appropriate or what was, like, culturally acceptable. Um, like, yes, I think there was some definitely, like, childishness and playfulness in that friendship, but, like, I did not read it as gay. And I didn't read it as, like, overly eroticized, and I thought the eroticism that came up in the end was far more an expression of, like, how deeply these men cared for each other and really wanted one another to be happy, and, like, it was awkward, it didn't work, you know? Like, he was like, "I can't do this," you know? He was like, "What am I doing? This is so crazy," when he's having now I'm, like, forgetting both the characters' names, but when the guy is dancing for him, he's very clearly like, "Oh, I wanted this to work because I love you and I care about you, but, like, there's just no way this is happening." And I think the other guy was also not gay, but I think so desperate for intimacy, um, and this was, like, the closest thing that he could get just because he had this trusting, loving relationship with this man, so it's like, "Okay, well, maybe it could come from here." There were a lot of reviews that talked about, like, oh, they were really gay and they just, like, couldn't make it happen and they were so overcome by shame. Like, that was completely not what I
Yeah,
got from it.
I didn't think they were gay. I thought they were just
Yeah.
very lonely and
Yeah.
very brave,
Yeah.
and that, they were kind of trying to break free of the restrictions on male friendship, in
Mhm.
order to escape their solitude. Dustin makes a good point. He says, "I didn't understand the female lead character." So,
Yeah. Yeah, that
and
was the
also,
most confusing to me
well,
too.
she was difficult, but also, the other guy's wife was a non-character.
Yeah.
Like, his wife and family, I mean, they might have been in 2 scenes in the 7 episodes. They were just like
Yeah.
non-entities, which
Yeah.
I guess obviously was intentional, right? I guess the point was that he was just totally disconnected from them. Um, but yeah, I also found the female lead character to be interesting. I felt like she was very well cast, in the sense that she was both like, she was very good at expressing her exhaustion and her just like, "Oh, fuck, man. Like, how did my life come to this?"
Mhm.
But also that she loved her husband and recognized what a sweetheart he was. And she could kind of convey that, like, middle-aged woman who kind of feels like it might be coming to an end and men aren't gonna even see me 5 years from now, so I better get it while I can kind of
Yeah.
energy. I
Yeah.
thought she
I
did that really well.
I thought her character was, like, maybe a little bit overly manipulated for the purpose of, like, confusing us in terms of the plot of what
Yeah,
happened.
I
Like, there was
agree.
a lot of random stuff added in there that was like, "Why is she acting?" Like, it was weird even watching it, like, "Wait a second, that doesn't, like, seem to align with her character." And then, like, in the after effect, when you realize that she wasn't, like, the murderer or whatever, some of that behavior was also really confusing because she did act in a really sketchy way that would have made me feel that she was hiding something as well.
Right, and the
Um,
whole thing where she was running and listening to the tapes about, like, how to
right.
dominate people and influence people and all that, like, why?
Yeah,
That was never really explained.
right.
Okay, so, uh, another thing that you pointed out that I feel like is a huge plot hole is that it doesn't and again, super spoiler alert here. Uh, in the last episode, he kills himself by drinking all of the can of Bloody Mary that he had spiked himself with the erection drug, and he knew that if he took too much, he would die. He said it. So why did he put so much of the drug in the
Yeah.
can to begin with?
I'm still unclear why he drank it all at the end, like, because he was ashamed that the stepson saw what had happened. Like,
I
there
think
was a
so,
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I really like I honestly didn't love the ending. Like, I thought the most interesting part of the show was a commentary on male friendship and male vulnerability, and, like, I would be really curious. I don't know if there's any women here who saw the show, but I would be curious to hear other women's take on this friendship and like how weird or sweet or endearing that they thought it was. Cause I thought it was like I wish more men behaved like this with each other.
Really.
And for sure, like, I mean, maybe not in the same, not coming from the same place of like desperation, but I think for most of the show, and you called it early on, you were like, oh, he knows his friend is fucking his wife and he's okay with it. And like that did develop it, like, you did figure that out before they had revealed it. And so I feel like there were a lot of really interesting, uh, like innovative themes around male friendship that were discussed in this show that I don't necessarily see portrayed or talked about very often. Like having, this idea that if a man is having sex with your wife, that you're a cuck, and like it's this very, I felt like they were trying to show these two like really genuinely sweet, earnest, loving men who are lost, who are like, you know, drowning in the fucking boredom and mundanity of everyday life and trying to figure out how to like find meaning and pleasure and connection. And I feel like everything else seemed kind of like a mess, but I felt like the connection that both of them had was like really sweet and really beautiful. And whether all male friendships need to take that specific shape or like, they need to be riding on those silly bikes holding hands, I did feel like it was making a commentary on like I feel like where we are and where we could go as far as male friendship and what that would look like. Um, so I don't know. I thought it was really like sweet and endearing and beautiful and not like pathetic. And even though maybe there were some pathetic aspects, but I wasn't getting like gay men who are ashamed and like trying to work through their sexuality. I felt like, oh wow, this is like a really courageous, like vulnerability is courageous, right? Like there's something super badass about vulnerability and honesty. And I think that's like maybe that's also the impression that I got about masculinity being raised by a gay man, especially one who was the age that he was and grew up in the generation that he did, because gay men are like so far from pansies or like they're the sort of most badass dudes I know in a lot of respects, even though they're also like emotionally intelligent and emotionally mature and vulnerable and aren't afraid to cry. It's like to me that's all an expression of that badassery. So when I see men
Yeah.
that have the courage to connect in that way, to me it's like it's incredibly masculine that you have the confidence to do that as opposed to like 7-year-old girl or immature.
Yeah. No, I didn't think there was any that they were repressed, that it was about repressed homosexuality. In fact, the opposite. I felt like they both kind of wished they were, and they tried to explore it, but like I thought it was really a beautiful thing when the one guy kissed the so he goes on a dating app and he's looking for women, but a guy responds, and then he goes on the date like, why not? Maybe he's a nice guy, and he is a nice guy, and then the guy kisses him and he's like, I wasn't into it, but I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I mean, it's like that was very touching,
Yeah,
and not something that I've seen on any other TV shows.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
when
it's
I
like
when I said the 7-year-old girls, I wasn't trying to demean anybody. I was saying the freedom and like the way of relating, like we'll be best friends forever, like that kind of immediate intimacy that girls have. That we all have when we're young, but I think women maintain that kind of freedom and fluidity more as they get older than a lot of men do.
yeah. But like unfortunately, like I wish that weren't the case. I wish And I thought it was interesting that, I don't know, talking about like non-monogamy, I think I've often talked about how part of my desire to be in that kind of relationship is to be able to connect with women in what I feel is like the most intimate, scary way possible, right? Like what's the like what is the scariest, most vulnerable place to put myself in with a woman? And to me, that would be being with the same man, whether that's like being in the same room or not. Uh, I think that's a
Being
really
with the same
scary
man, like your man or her man
either
or
way.
nobody.
Yeah,
Why is
either
it
way.
scary? If you just like if you're out with your friend and you meet a guy and the three of you spend the weekend together, why would that be scary?
Because I think if for the women are for the most part just extremely competitive with one another. Like there's
Oh,
so, you know, I don't want to and there's like this, river of untrustworthiness, like not only competitive but also manipulative and a lot of backstabbing and a lot of
mm,
yeah, manipulation. And that's true, and I think that exists. And I think I've been deeply traumatized by that and had girls treat me really, really terribly as a girl. And so I think I grew up with a lot of fear around intimacy with women because women had girls, I would say, like betrayed me. I thought
yeah,
they were my friend one day, and then literally the next day they would do something horrible. And so to put yourself in that kind of a vulnerable situation where you're like sharing the most precious thing that you could share with that person, it's like not only do you risk losing whatever it is you're sharing, but you also are opening yourself up to be really hurt if you've let this woman in and trust this woman. And
right.
so um, me being a masochist decides that I should go as close toward that as I possibly can. And of course, not
Well, I was
all
gonna
women.
say you are very trusting, given that background. You do seem to be your impulse is to be trusting. It's good. You've outgrown some of your trauma.
I don't know if that's my impulse. I think that's my intentional decision. Like
Okay.
I, um, and I think it was difficult. I think it was difficult for me to get myself to a place where it still is sometimes. Like there's
And
still
your
this.
best friend, like through high school and maybe even college, you had a very kind of catty competitive relationship with her as well. So it wasn't
Yeah.
just grade school. You kind of
No.
carried a lot of that through.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I do think the sort of most shocking or traumatic experiences were when I was younger. But yes, the my closest female relationship when I was a teenager and through college, it was just like a lot of projecting our own shit onto the other person. Like a lot of not dealing with our own stuff and instead criticizing the other person who was often doing the same thing we were doing, but it was, we didn't want to face that in ourselves. We just wanted to
Right.
blame the other person.
Right.
Um,
So, if we have more to say about this, I'm happy to keep talking about this. But it occurred to me that we also recently watched the Dark Wizard short 4 episode documentary. We might want to
yeah.
talk about that a little bit. That was quite interesting as well.
Mhm.
Are we done with DTF?
Unless anyone has any other comments or questions, we can always return to it. We know some of you probably didn't watch the show at all, so maybe this is incredibly boring and uninteresting.
Yeah. The Dark Wizard, which was on, is it HBO Max, I think, also? I think it
Mhm.
was HBO Max. Yeah. We just like, we have like our friends' passwords. We don't pay for any of these services. Ah. Um, well, I don't want people to think we're squandering their podcast money on,
Oh,
HBO
okay.
Max and Netflix.
Okay, yes.
No,
We're
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 living a
very
humble,
frugal. We are.
we're living a humble life here. Yes. Uh, yes, Eric V watched The Dark Wizard. Good. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was really interesting. In fact, I was just talking to a guy, Ryan Norbauer, who was on the podcast a few episodes back, the deluxe keyboard guy, super smart, and he was suggesting I might want to interview a friend of his for the podcast who wrote a book called Never Enough: From Barista to Billionaire, about a guy, Andrew something or other, who just can't ever, like, he made billions of dollars and he just never has enough. And he wrote this memoir about it, and he's pretty self-aware about it. And it occurred to me, like, that's the business version of the guy, the Dark Wizard,
Mm,
right? Who's just always has to be pushing the limit. He always has to be on the edge of life and death. What was his name? I forget. Dean Potter. Dean
Butter, yeah.
Potter.
Right. Yeah, which is funny because to me, like, speaking of masculinity, like, there's nothing less masculine to me than that. Just, like, the insane ambition of putting
Huh.
yourself, like, in such danger, which isn't to say I can't, like, I had a lot of issue understanding, like, what the appeal was of climbing, especially, like, people who really put themselves out there and were really risking so much, and then I interviewed these 2 women on my podcast who started something called the Climbing Grief Fund, which was to sort of like address the gap in the climbing community because so many people are dying, but there was no real container or like strategy or professionals that could help people move through that process when their loved ones died and their friends were dying all the time. And that was a really interesting conversation to me and really kind of like, allowed me to understand what was being sought in those spaces in terms of risk. And I think a lot of it was about like experiencing that sense of aliveness and that while I don't choose extreme sports, I too have recognized that coming close to death or allowing myself to process grief has certainly enhanced my capacity to feel like love and joy and presence and eros in the world. And so maybe that's kind of like a more literal path to that. Um, but yeah, and I think, of course, like there's different levels, obviously, right? Like people can be just kind of like hobby climbers. And then there are people that are like, I'm going to climb every single mountain with like no ropes and
Yeah.
push everything to the absolute limit, which I think is a whole other thing entirely, which I find very unappealing, honestly.
What's interesting, you frame that in terms of masculinity. It's interesting, yeah, because I think my sense of masculinity is involves a lot of like um ability to say no to, the culture's values, or, you know, whatever, the drill sergeant saying, you're a piece of shit, you do this, you do that, blah, 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 and like just saying fuck you. Like that, to
Mhm.
me, the masculine hero in the film is the one who says fuck off, not the one who's like,
Right.
yes sir, and does what he's told, right? Even though the culture defines masculinity largely in terms of do what you're told, do your duty, don't question authority, which is a very inverse kind of vision of strength. It's
Yeah.
very weird. It's like we define masculinity as this kind of blind obedience to authority, because we live in a very militaristic society. It's
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did feel like his qualities of, like, sticking it to the man and, like, trying to, like, I think it's wild to me. There was a point in the series where I guess it was illegal, like, Dean was gonna do this thing where he was gonna free solo, but with
In
a
Yosemite.
parachute, yeah, with a parachute.
Right.
And it was like,
Right.
okay, so I understand that free diving is that what it's called? Can you?
Yeah.
Why would you
Free
just fuck
jumping.
free jump, whatever
Yeah.
that is? Like, okay, that's high risk, so you don't want that in the park. But it's like, this person is like, if this person wants to climb this mountain without ropes, that's legal. But if they wanna do so with a parachute on their back in case they fall so they won't die, that's illegal. And I'm like, "That makes no sense." And maybe that would be hard to police, like, are you wearing the parachute just for an emergency, or are you just saying you're doing that and actually you're gonna, like, jump off the cliff? Um, so a lot of those rules just seem kind of silly to me, and I did appreciate, like, I think the artistic intention that he had at certain points and, like, the kind of doing what he wanted. Like, I could get down with that. It was just the competitiveness that blinds you, like, he wasn't ultimately always motivated by his own internal desire to do something, but to be better than
Well,
someone else or to
yeah.
prove something.
Yeah, and just, like, to be a slave is not a sign of strength, right?
Right.
Like, to be a sign of anything is a sign of is a symbol of subservience, an indication of subservience. And, like, okay, when he was just, like, a single dude, 22-year-old dirtbag or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I rode a motorcycle, I did shit, whatever. But what gets me is, like, in the Dark Wizard, he meets a woman. He finally really falls in love with a woman that he's very compatible with, and he's mature enough to kinda for the relationship to work, and she has a kid, and he loves the kid, and they have a dog, and he really
Yeah.
loves the dog, and, like, for the first time, he's got all this love in his life, and things are working, and he's kinda moved beyond a lot of the childishness of the earlier, periods of his life, but he fucking throws it all away. That's what gets me. It's like if you're alone in the world and you wanna do something really dumb and die, that's your right. But I remember there was this movie a few years ago, another documentary about climbers in the Himalayas. I don't know if it was Meru or but it was that Jimmy Chin, I think, directed it.
Yeah.
And it was about these guys, and the sort of compulsion to climb these mountains and all that. And the guys are I think the guys it was focused on, the main guys were out of Boulder, I think. And they're famous climbers and they're best friends. And the one guy dies on Everest. I think he died in the Into Thin Air episode that John Krakauer wrote about. And his best friend then married his wife
Right, I
and
remember this.
adopted his kids. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's great. That's awesome. But then the fucking guy kept climbing. He kept risking his life. And this woman and those kids have already been through this. They've already lost the man that they loved. And now he's going to put them through it again. Like, what the fuck? What kind of narcissism is necessary to approach life that way? Am I off base here? That just feels really selfish.
Yeah. I mean, I am with you. I'm playing devil's advocate. I'm sure someone could say something around like, well, this is what the person is passionate about and what makes them feel alive, and the women
Then don't adopt
signed
another guy's
on.
kids. Don't
Yeah.
adopt their kids. Don't marry the woman. Be a lone fucking wolf and go out there and, do your fucking
Yeah.
daredevil bullshit. But like when you ask someone to love you, I feel like you have an obligation not to be careless with what they're giving you, with what they're,
Yeah.
the openness that you're asking from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Igor says maybe they should only give you a license to climb Everest if you don't have kids. Yeah, or adult kids,
Yeah.
Um, oh, and somebody knows them personally and they suck. Oh, geez. Okay. Yeah, I don't remember their names either, but they're well-known climbers. But yeah, it feels like there's a like, hey, everybody, look at me, look how cool I am, look what I did. Go do some fucking. The thing is, there's so many sports that give you that feeling of adrenaline rush and risk, without the actual life or death danger, right? I mean, there are things you can
Yeah.
do that are fucking
Yeah.
scary that you probably won't die from.
But even that, like, I wonder what I feel like
On red anchor. Right.
there's gotta be something in our culture that, like, we are so death phobic and pleasure phobic and, like, alive phobic that this is how certain people are fighting back against that. Um, and that it's, like, maybe even a more socially acceptable way to do it than to, like.
Ah, no, I don't buy that. No. You want to fight back against it? Be a fucking EMT, Go out in an ambulance. You'll see plenty of death. Be
But
a
I'm just saying, like,
nurse.
even
Be a
that's not
death doula.
necessary. Like, it's not necessary. Like, I've never been an EMT, I've barely climbed, I've not put myself in, like, literal danger. Like, I have a thing with myself around sports or, like, activities, like, the fun to risk ratio has to be right. Like, I think about this all the time, and, like, I grew up skiing, so I was really comfortable skiing, and skiing is a lot of fun for me. I don't feel in danger, and I don't really put myself in dangerous situations, and I learned to snowboard later in life, and I was okay at it, but I never quite felt totally comfortable, and so, like, the risk always felt too high compared to just, like, the fun and the pleasure, and it was like, I'm not gonna like, if an activity is stacked that way, I'm not gonna do it. Um, but, like, I think there are so many like, I feel in intimately in touch with death in so many different ways. Just gardening, like, I can't imagine an activity that puts me closer to, like, the cycles of life and death than planting things and eating them, and then they die, and then they alchemize, and then they come back. It's like, there are so many ways I feel like to be in touch with death and loss and surrender and all of these things in life that don't require us to take it so literally, to, like, literally put ourselves in death's way or to incorporate the risk of death in such a literal sense. And so I don't know if those people, it's like they've experienced what I have and it's just not enough and they need more, or, like, our society doesn't send men off to be initiated anymore, so they've never experienced that kind of fear, or, like, they're not hunting for their own food, or they're not, you know, they're so pampered by society that they don't actually have to, like, do anything difficult to survive. Everything is so fucking comfortable all the time. Like, that's what I'm saying, like, everything is so cushioned and so comfortable and so sterilized that I don't actually think we are in touch with, like, the cycles of life and death in, like, normal and natural ways. And so people are sort of, like, going into these weird spaces, like extreme sports, to try to experience something that they don't realize is actually super fucking accessible, um,
Hmm.
in different non-literal ways. And I think just, like, our
Interesting
culture.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, like, we don't grief is, like, so scary, like, when people die, it's so scary, we buy all our meat in the supermarket and it's every sterilized. It's just, like, we're so disconnected from that stuff, and I wonder if we were more connected, if we would have fewer people that wanted to do stupid shit like base jump.
So here's an idea, following on from what you were just saying. In the societies that I've studied, the coming of age ritual happens once. Right? You go and you take the ayahuasca or the mushrooms, or you just fast for a week, or you climb the mountain, or you spend a month alone in the wilderness, or whatever it is. There's something that a person does, that defines the transition from childhood to adulthood. And it's normally something difficult and arduous and scary and challenging and all those things that we're talking about, but it's done once.
Yeah.
And when it's done successfully, that's it. You've done it. Now you're a
Yeah.
man or a woman,
Yeah.
and you don't need to keep doing it. And in fact, to
Right.
keep doing it would be weird. Like, why
Yeah.
would you? You've
Yeah.
made the transition, and you get a new name, and whatever. You get new rights and access to different aspects of the spirit world or whatever. Um, so I wonder if, to expand on what you were saying, if the absence of these initiatory rituals or experiences, part of it is like we keep doing it over and over again compulsively because it's never done definitively. It's not, you haven't checked the box. So we just
Yeah.
keep going through the fucking motions again and again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my take.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's true.
Because I
Uh,
agree with you that there is an innate attraction to danger and a desire to push through it. And there's
right.
definitely an aspect of I think men and women in different ways, there is a hunger to kind of like face it, push through it, and get to
Yeah.
the other side.
Right, and I mean, Igor says true emotional vulnerability can be far scarier than extreme sports. And like I agree with that. And I think most people are not truly emotionally vulnerable. And so like in the absence of that kind of an experience, in the absence, I mean, going back to DTF St. Louis, right? Like those men were putting themselves in extremely scary, risky, vulnerable situations that I would have to imagine are invoking similar feelings of fear or risk or you know um yeah, like touching base with that kind of primal fear within ourselves. um and I think we were likely connected in those kind of ways far more so than we are now. And
Right.
yeah, I just think our culture for the most part is so numb, like across the board. And you can't be like numb on one side and like not on the other, like if you're numb to pain, you're numb to love. If you're numb to grief, you're numb to pleasure. Like it just comes in
Yeah.
a package. um
Comfortably numb.
and I think most people are, and I think that's culturally designed because I think we're far better servants and slaves if we're numbed. uh and so to me that's what I like. Extreme sports taken to an extreme, at least, to me, are this expression of like a quality that's lacking in us that we don't know how to access in safer ways in everyday life.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's
Well,
it's actually super accessible. We just like don't know.
and in ways that are pro-social, right? That
Yeah.
help our community rather than leave people picking up the pieces. Somebody said, Nick said, a wise man climbs Mount Fuji once, only a fool climbs it twice. Like that's my point. Yeah. It's like, yeah, have the experience. Somebody else, I think Andrew Ramos said, individual ritual is much weaker than communal ritual, which is very interesting because I felt in watching The Dark Wizard that a lot of it was communal ritual. That even though it's a small group of these guys who climb these, extreme climbers and base jumpers and wingsuit flyers and all that, within that community, your reputation is very defined, right? So it is communal in a sense. It's not communal in terms of the larger community, but within that group of, extreme climbers, like when
Mm,
what's his name, the Alex Honnold showed up, everybody knew, right? It's
yeah.
kind of like when Hendrix first went to London, Clapton and Pete Townsend knew immediately. They heard there's a small community.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, interesting. Eric says it's why I through hike long distance trails. I feel most alive and connected. And the world went on one of these expeditions. It's also easy to get onto the hedonic treadmill when hiking thousands of miles isn't enough. Yeah, but see, that's what I mean. Like someone who hikes the Pacific Crest Trail, like, fuck yeah. Fuck
Right.
yeah, that's awesome. I think that's amazing. You're not gonna die. You're not risking your life. You're not gonna break your mother's heart, because you fucking calculated something wrong and your
Yeah.
parachute opened too late.
Yeah, someone said earlier, like, it's not about the danger of the thing, like, it's just, like, I like that activity, or, like, I like to spend time in nature, but it's, like, there's a million ways to spend time in nature to be yeah, like, hiking the Pacific Crest Trail, like, being alone in nature for a long period of time, you don't need to necessarily, like, climb cliffs. And again, I
Yeah.
think it's like all of these activities are fine. I'm not there's no critique. Even base jumping, I think some people can do it in a very sort of minimal, responsible way. It's not my choice, but I don't think all expressions of these activities are inherently like toxic or unhealthy, but I think it was very clear in the documentary about Dean Potter that he was being fueled by something that went beyond his enjoyment of the activity, that it was about his fear and his emptiness and his longing and his um yeah,
Yeah.
feelings of isolation and competitiveness and ambition, and like it was a lot. It
And
wasn't
and
just
that was the heartbreak of it, that he was aware of it. He was very
yeah, he was aware of it.
self-reflective
Yeah.
and very like, why do I do this? I shouldn't do this. Like, I mean, he sounded like a fucking heroin addict or something.
Mhm.
There's definitely an
Yeah.
addictive component to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he can
Yeah.
try to figure it out in his next life, maybe.
So John says, I'm 64 and ride a motorcycle often, and many people think I'm taking an unnecessary risk. Well, you are, John. You are. But I've also spent a lot of time riding motorcycles, and I get it. It's it's awesome. But see, that's the thing. It's like you can ride a motorcycle, wearing flip-flops and shorts and a baseball cap after you've had 5 beers and going
Right.
90 miles an hour. You're a
Right.
fucking idiot. But
Right.
if you're a good, solid BMW and you've got, your leather jacket and a good helmet and your gloves and you're, you know, not drinking or just drinking a little and you're going at a reasonable speed and you're aware that it's dusk and that's when the animals come out, like that's a different
Yeah.
calculation of risk. So I'm all in favor of doing things that other people think could be dangerous, but doing them in a way that minimizes the danger.
Mhm.
Simon, Rex, stop arguing. Simon's here. Hey, Simon, Dirt Nasty in the house. I can't believe that Simon is like one of the most faithful podcast listeners I have. I think that's just crazy. Love you, Simon. Um, yeah. So what else?
Well,
Should
does
we talk
anyone
about
have any
Simon for the next 15
yeah,
minutes?
yeah, I'm sure Simon would love that.
I love the fact that, ladies and gentlemen, Simon, I'm going to tell people something private about you. In Simon's bathroom, he's got what is it? The platinum record of my dick over the toilet.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the funniest things ever. Which I didn't know until you told me that, because I always piss outside at his house.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So what's this? Eric says something about, can you read these? I can't read these fucking comment sections.
People have and do die hiking the PCT. Nothing is without risk. Knowing yourself and not succumbing to peer pressure of others is something to be aware of. In 23, I skipped around several sections of the PCT because of the high risk snow conditions I hike, and I'm not looking for mountaineering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like you're doing something that most people would never do. It's an awesome experience. You don't need to fucking die doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Live to hike another trail,
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we need our next. Last night or 2 nights ago we watched. What was it? Marty Supreme? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
That's a
I
weird
enjoyed
fucking
that
movie.
movie.
It was very frenetic, it was very quick, fast paced and frenetic, and there were interesting aspects of it. But at the end, I was like, what did that add up to?
And, like, yeah, and, like,
Nothing.
why? Like, what was there was no, like was there, like, a lesson or, like, a moral? Like, I just feel like movies that are just, like, purely entertainment for entertainment's sake, maybe, that makes me, like, an annoying person, but I just, like, I want something. I wanna, like oh, yeah, and Kevin O'Leary was in it, which was terrible. That was, like, awful. I just
Who's
didn't wanna look at his face.
Wait? Who is Kevin O'Leary?
Kevin O'Leary is the asshole douchebag millionaire billionaire who's trying to put that data center in Utah,
Oh,
and
right,
he played the actress's husband,
the
who's
rich asshole.
yeah,
Okay, I recognized the name and knew that that guy was making the data center, but I didn't know he was an actor.
he's not. I've never seen him in a film before, and he wasn't very good.
Oh,
He was just I think he was just like a cameo, but I think had that movie been made now and, like, he's getting such bad press, they probably wouldn't have put him in the film.
you know who else
It's shocking.
had a cameo in the film? I don't know if you noticed. Uh, Penn Jillette.
I
You
don't
know,
know who
from
that
Penn and
is.
Teller. You know,
Oh! Oh, okay. Yes, I did see that.
you know what?
That person looked familiar, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting. Small role,
Yep,
but very, very interesting. Yeah.
yep.
Anyway, yeah, Uncut Gems. Someone said I didn't like that movie
I did
either.
not like that either.
It made me very. The thing about films, like I feel like there's a you can analyze a film in terms of the quality of the acting and the casting and the script and the direction and all that, which is all relevant. But for me, often like, how do I feel when it's over is a big
Yeah,
question for me.
yeah,
You know, it's like going to a really fancy restaurant and the food is beautiful and the plating is lovely, and but then I feel sick when I leave the restaurant. Like, what the fuck was that? Why did I pay all that money? I gotta go puke and take a shit now. Like, that's how I felt. Uncut Gems made me uncomfortable. Like, I'm not happy I watched that. That's
yeah.
why I don't watch horror films. I don't wanna be scared for 2 hours and, some fucking chainsaw murderer
I know, that's
lurking in the
another
woods.
I feel like that's another perfect example of, like, our warped capacity to, like, engage with death on a regular basis, that, like, we have to watch horror films, I also don't understand.
What point Simon says the point of the movie is don't play ping pong while dating a Kardashian?
Yeah, what's
Was
his
she a
name?
Kardashian?
Timothy Chalamet is in real
Oh,
life.
he's dating in real life. Right, right. We haven't seen the Timothy Chalamet, um, Bob Dylan movie. We should watch that. I think that would probably be more
Is
interesting.
he in that?
He stars as Bob Dylan.
Oh,
Yeah, there
I
was a
didn't
whole thing,
realize.
like, he learned to play guitar just to make that movie.
Mm.
Yeah. So, anyway.
What else should
Yeah,
we talk
Uncut
about?
Gems. Why are they yelling so much? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I watched that movie because I lived and worked on 47th Street in New York City. So, and that's where most of that movie was filmed. So I recognized a lot of that. But yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so speaking of movies, the movie The Man Who Saved the Earth, or Who Would Save the Earth,
Oh, the
that's going to be streaming soon. I
yeah.
sent you the promotional stuff starting in a couple of days.
We'll
That's going to
find
be
the actual
streaming.
maybe find the
So
real title
it's,
so people
there it
know what
is.
the fuck
The
we're doing.
The Man Who Saves the World. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had Gabe Polsky, the director, on the podcast a while back, and it's going to be streaming starting May 28th from their website, themanwhosavestheworld.com. I'll mention it on the podcast as well, and we'll post it on
I
social
liked
media.
that. I really liked that one.
Yeah. Well, and I felt really good after watching that movie.
Well,
Like, holy
it
shit,
made you
these are
think
interesting
about things.
people.
Like, I wanna, like,
Yeah.
think about shit, and even DTS St. Louis, I didn't love the end, but, like, I was thinking about that show for a while, like, it makes it things are, like, percolating, and And I think this documentary in particular, I think they even say it in the documentary that, like, what you think it's about or, like, what you take away from it says more about you and your, like, the way you engage with the world than anything that the film has to do with, which I think is probably the case for most films and most books. But it was interesting to talk to other people who saw it and was like, to see what their takeaways were.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but yeah.
think the next film we're gonna watch is the film that Simon recommended. I forget the name of it. Maybe if Simon's
Oh,
still
yeah.
there, he can tell us. About the Spanish people who go to Morocco, like who's, I guess it's a father who goes to try to rescue his daughter who gets kidnapped at a music festival in Morocco. That looked really interesting and intense. So we've got that queued up.
Syrah. Syrah.
What
Syrah. Syrah.
did Simon answer already?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it's not scrolling for me. Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Captain Fantastic is an amazing movie. That is, although there was something about that that confused me at the end. I don't remember what it was. Have you seen that, Anya? About the guy who raises his kids in the woods?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
long time ago.
that was interesting. Sarat. Yeah, great flick. Everyone dies in the end. Okay, never mind. Save our 4.99. We don't need to watch that. I think that's on Amazon Prime. Yeah. All right. Are we done? We
We
said we
could
were going to
be.
do an hour.
Has
We
it been?
could
Oh,
be.
wow. That was fast.
I mean, I don't really have anything else to talk about. I was up on a ladder last week and tweaked my back. It's very dangerous. It was a death-defying
And then, yeah,
experience. So, some people climb Mount Everest, some people get up on the shed roof, you
install
know.
solar panels on their shed
Yeah,
roof.
exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you kept retweaking it over and over again. Just couldn't stay away from the physical tasks in the yard.
You know, I I often think of my father moving rocks around, when I would go visit. My dad was in his 50s or 60s and what's dad doing? Oh, he's out there building a rock wall. And it's like, what the fuck, dude? Why is he doing that? I don't know what it is, but it's kicked in. I just feel like it makes me feel good to go outside and do something and like actually get it done,
Yeah.
like to like check it off the list.
It's very
Like cleaning
satisfying.
up the woods around here has made me very happy
In
in the
addition
last couple
to
of months.
pained. In
Well, I
pain,
don't
but
think that,
happy.
well, yeah, the chainsaw hurts my elbows, but I
Someone
think,
said,
what?
as someone, no, it's sort of changing the subject, but I've said this before too, Andrew Ramos, that I think Chris should start a reaction channel on YouTube where you just like watch something or listen to something and react to it. I think that would be
Mm,
highly entertaining. I have
You
suggested
think so?
this.
Reacting
Yeah.
to what though?
Anything at all, like movies or shows or music or just you have very like passionate reactions, opinions to things.
But I'm not one of see, I sometimes I watch these reaction things where like there's some jazz musician who's never heard Pink Floyd, supposedly, or some like hip hop dude who's never heard Steely Dan, and he'll play a song and you'll be like, holy shit, these dudes are really good. Like, first of
Yeah.
all, I don't believe he's never heard Steely Dan.
Yeah.
I think it's all bullshit. And like I don't there's very I guess people could send me things that I haven't heard, but like I mean, I don't know, what would I watch?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like when I watch shows with you, like, you sometimes will press pause and turn to me and be like, "Okay, so, like, that person was really well cast." You're like, "Do you see what they did there?" Like, "Oh, I figured okay, I think this is gonna happen." Like, you're already doing it. You're already reacting. You could
Right.
just record yourself reacting. But I
I
think
do
it's like,
think
people love you for your, like, curmudgeon-y, like, Uncle Chris kind
Larry
of
David
Larry
qualities.
David I mean, we all love
Uh-huh.
this about you. It's like your Romas are basically reaction videos, just like you're reacting live to
Like,
topics.
right, that's true.
It's
That's
basically
true.
that. You could just like
Yeah.
play a newscast and be like, "What the fuck?"
What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe we'll do that. Doctor for reacts. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it would
I
be
like
great.
it. I like it.
Um,
Um, well, send me things to react to, people, you know?
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
But I do notice, I don't know, maybe Simon has thoughts on this, but like I notice I mean, this is a hard thing to confirm, right? Because we only see what we see. We don't see what we don't see. So, but my whole life, I feel like I have noticed things in shows and movies that the people around me never notice, but they're continuity things. They're like,
right. Like
wait a
editing
minute.
issues.
Like, yeah, and in the earlier scene, he was wearing the watch on his right hand, and now he's wearing it on his left
Right.
wrist, or
Yeah,
like, wait, those shoes are different than what he had on half an hour ago, or, like just things like that, that there's no reason to notice them, but I fucking notice them all the time. And sometimes I have this fantasy that somebody's going to hire me to just like watch the movie before it comes out and be like, oh, wait a minute. She changed her earrings there. I'm like, oh, go back and reshoot the scene.
yeah,
Yeah,
you may have a whole different future career ahead of you.
that would be great.
Yeah. Someone wants to
Yeah.
know how the book is going.
We're on the verge of sending it out. I've already sent it out to two friends for comments, the proposal. And Anya and I have to have a meeting in the morning to talk about some subtle wording issues, and then we'll send it to some more people for comments. And then when we get enough of those comments back, we're going to send it to the agent, which will probably be what, in a week or so, depending how quickly people get
Yeah,
back to us, I guess.
yeah,
So yeah, it's definitely moving. But we might send it to the agent and he might say, no, this is not going to work.
yeah,
Nobody's going to want this. In which case we'll have to decide, do we self-publish or do we think about something else or do we tweak it? I mean, this is the commercial process where they'll come back and say, I think it would sell better if you XYZ'd it. And then we have to sort
right,
of decide if we're going to say, fuck that or
right. We just have to decide
XYZ
how
it.
much "fuck you" we have in our systems. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot.
Ye
Deborah Berger just joined. Oh, we're just about to say goodbye, but Deborah just joined. Hello, Deborah.
yeah. The other 2 questions were, "What's up with your podcast with Cameron?" and "Do you shoot your gun on the property?" Totally related
Well,
questions.
I just bought a pellet gun that I was shooting on the property last night, sighting it in. So pellet gun, yes. Larger guns, no. I mean, we could, but I don't want to freak out the neighbors. Um, and there are other places we can do that. The Cameron thing, I don't know what is happening with that. I guess the last we sent an episode to Cameron, and he liked it. He was down, and we were talking about how are we going to release it? Are we going to do video or not?
Yeah,
Because we recorded video, but we didn't really love it. And I'm happy to just release it as audio, but he was going to get someone to do animations or something, he said, but that was like a month ago.
yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, basically the situation was that we recorded video, not just audio, but it was pretty boring and we did it in this room before there was anything in the room. So it's just like Chris and Cameron sitting against a white background. And we originally were gonna like we're just not video people. And it's like quite difficult and time consuming and expensive to like shoot 3 angles of a podcast conversation. And we like
Yeah.
tried and there was like a mail order issue. We were gonna like order iPhones and then send them back. It was like a very high risk maneuver, but then they Like, they never even came, and so basically we just ended up shooting it one shot with, my camera, like a good camera, and it's fine, it's just boring, and they're facing each other, not facing the camera, so
The
we were just going
content's
back.
not boring. The visuals
Yeah,
are
right,
boring.
the visuals are boring, so we were just going back and forth trying to figure out if we should even, like, try to do anything with the video or just use the audio, and if we use the video, like, maybe, I don't know, creating clips to promote it. Podcasting is hard, you guys, it's, like, a lot of work. It's so easy to just sit down and, well, not so easy, even just sitting down in front of a mic and then, like, editing it and posting it, and, like, there's so many different steps, but video adds, like, a
And
whole other
I was
layer.
never into the video. I mean, when we came up with the idea, Anya and Cameron were like, "Yeah, we got to do video, and it's gonna be blah, 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 blah." And I was like, I don't like video. I don't want to do it. It's a pain in the ass. The
It's a
ratio
pain in
of
the ass, but
difficulty." And I know everyone's like, "Oh, but all the young people are watching YouTube these days." Like, I don't give
see,
a
you're
shit.
reacting. This is like Uncle Chris reacts to video podcasts. We wanna know how you really feel.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've tried to do video. I've tried to introduce video to my podcast several times over the years, and every time it's just been like, this is way too big of a pain in the ass.
It's a huge thing. We did, like, when you were interviewed by Fancy Keyboard Guy, I didn't know this existed, but apparently there's, like, companies now who, like, rent apartments and have, like, 3 different sets in the apartment with all the camera gear, and you just, like, pay them a flat hourly fee, and
Yeah,
not only do you get to use the space, but they will film it and fucking edit it for you, and not just edit the podcast, but also there's, like, the promotional clips. Like, this stuff is so time consuming. Like, I mean, I worked in marketing, so I understand, like,
but
just
doesn't
how
AI just do
complicated.
that now?
Not
Can't you
all,
just like
and some of
load
it,
that shit up and
it's
say,
yes.
edit this?
It's getting a lot better, but I think even just,
Yeah.
like, trying to just the camera equipment in and of itself, it's like, are you gonna purchase 3 different professional cameras with, like, the mics that are attached and the tripods and it's insane. So I think this
Yeah.
model of, like, someone's got all the gear, they'll do all the editing for you, it's like a one-stop shop, you pay them for it. I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
So whether that's, we go to LA and do that, or someone's like, yeah, I'll set up a set for you and record it and do it all for you, and here's what I'll charge. That would be great. Um, because
Yeah. If
it's just
Justin
like,
Weiss is still watching, we're talking to you, Justin.
yeah, I think
Ju-
Justin was down to do it. We were just being incredibly frugal and thought we could do it ourselves, and then
Well, no,
I think
we need a set. That's the thing. Like
we did need a
we were
set.
trying to create a set for one thing. There needs to be a set where you just
Yeah,
show up, the cameras are there, the cables are hooked up, everything's plug and play. You can't like and that
yeah,
was why it never worked on my podcast because my podcast was always mobile. So I was always, showing up at someone's house or
yeah.
office or whatever. I'm not going to show up an hour early and set up cameras and also it changes the vibe, when cameras and lights in your face. It's very different,
Yeah, I mean, it
than just
doesn't just,
sitting
yeah,
there
and
talking.
it doesn't just change the vibe, like, I think what people sometimes don't understand too is that, like, in order to, like, pay or to be able to afford that kind of quality and that kind of complication in terms of, like, cameras and all of that, it's like, then you have to think about all these other ways where, how do I pay myself back for that? Because, okay, that was, like, several $1,000s that was just spent on just making it, and it's, like, a new podcast, and we don't know if it's gonna do well, and so now we have to, like, get advertisers, and now we have to sell ourselves out to all these different ways of making money and be really
Right.
obnoxious in the promotion. So it's like it's all this
Right.
step by step. It's like if it's just scrappy like your podcast, then it can just be scrappy from start to finish. But it's true that, like, the second you start investing a lot of money and time into the production of something, then it, like, necessitates you promote it more and you get
Right.
advertisers and you do
Now
all
it's a
of these.
business.
Right, right, exactly. And
Yeah.
it's a huge commitment. Um and we're trying
I
to,
like
like,
to
build.
keep it scrappy, not crappy. That's
Do
what I
do
say.
do do. Yeah.
All right, let's go. We're gonna eat dinner. Anya's making steak and potatoes and corn for dinner.
I
It's
know,
like
it's
fucking Kansas up in this bitch.
I know we do eat a lot of, like, really healthy vegetables, you guys, I promise, but today I was like, "You know what? The corn just actually looked really good at the store." I had the potatoes and I had the steak, and I was gonna go buy a vegetable. I was like, "Do I wanna eat broccoli for, like, the 40th time this week?" And that corn looked so good, so I got corn. So,
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Wish you could join us, everyone. Maybe next time we'll do a live and Chris reacting to the corn shop. Chris reacting to his oatmeal in the morning.
yeah.
Ooh, this is good oatmeal. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do this more often. There are 100 people watching this somehow.
Don't you people have something better to do? Come on.
Yeah.
Thank you
But they're
for
fun. Thank you
joining
for your
us.
comments and your engagement.
Yeah. Thank you for your engagement, everybody. I'm going to be recording an interesting podcast. Doing a few interesting podcasts coming up on AI. I'm going to be talking with Robert Wright tomorrow, the author of many books, including The Moral Animal and The God. Did he write The God Delusion, Non Zero? He's written a bunch of books. Very interesting guy. His book coming out next month is called The God Test, and it's about AI and this unique historical moment that we're in. I'm also going to do a podcast with our friend Kevin Russell about AI, hopefully soon. And yeah, a couple are coming up that I recorded in Bombay Beach with the artist.
Nice.
I forget his name. He has a very strange name, Dionysus or something like that.
Or like Dada?
Dionysus. Something. Anyway, a real character, very interesting guy. So that's the next one coming up. I'll put that together and get it out in the next few days. All right. Thank you. I think we're done. I feel
I think
bad saying
so.
goodbye. I feel like we
I
should just
know. I know, just like
like
hang out,
just
take you to into
just
the kitchen.
bring them along for the rest of the evening. It's such a weird time to be alive. You
Yeah.
know, like you're down there in the living room. I'm up here in my office. We're both looking into our phones at each other, and there are 100 people kind of with us in a weird, disembodied way. It's almost like we're having a party at our house.
I know, and that's why we don't wanna, like, stop it because 'cause we're like, "Oh, it's gonna be really lonely in, like, a half a second." Like, what happened? Everyone just vanished.
Well, exactly. Like there are 100 people in the house right now, and they're all about to vanish. Well,
Yeah.
anyway, thanks for coming to the party, y'all. Uh, Miss you, love you, and well, we do love some of them. We know some of them. Deborah, Simon, Midwest
Justin?
Time Capsule, Justin. Yeah, there are
Yeah.
people out there that we actually know. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk again soon.
Talk soon.
How do I stop this? I don't know.
There's
Oh,
an X at the top.